Suddenly at the age of 50. His brother said the music legend had suffered a cardiac arrest.
And cardiologists attempted to resuscitate him for a period of more than 1 hour, and they were unsuccessful.
Tributes are paid to his musical genius. We look back on his often controversial life.
Here at Michael Jackson's house, fans have been leaving tributes, and long into the Los Angeles nights they've gathered to remember their hero and celebrate his music.
In other news, a teenage baby he was pronounced dead after being rushed to hospital in Los Angeles. It's believed he suffered a cardiac arrest. Michael Jackson was the most iconic figure in pop music of his generation. A child star, his career spanned more than 40 years. His 1982 album Thriller is the best-selling album of all time. Our correspondent Rajesh Merchandani joins us from Los Angeles, where Michael Jackson fans have been gathering to remember him. Rajesh.
Thank you. Yes, I'm outside Michael Jackson's house in the Bel Air part of Los Angeles. As you can see, police tape is now strung across the quiet street that leads to his mansion. It's a large property on the other side of the block. Officers there are stationed and they're cordoning off another access road. But it was from here, many hours ago now, that the pop star was rushed to hospital. It was maybe a 5-minute drive to the medical center. That's where he was pronounced dead, and that became the focal point for hundreds of fans who gathered for many hours to celebrate him and to remember. Much of his life was spent in the public eye, and Michael Jackson's final moments were no different. Paparazzi cameras recorded the ambulance leaving his mansion. On board, the pop icon, unconscious, not breathing. Paramedics used CPR to try to revive him on the short journey to hospital in West Los Angeles. There, crowds of people started to gather. The mood was one of shock.
I don't know what to believe right now. I heard he had a heart attack. I heard they brought him back. I heard they couldn't revive him. I don't know who to believe or who to trust right now.
Members of Michael Jackson's family arrived at the hospital. Later, his brother confirmed the news.
His personal physician, who was with him at the time, attempted to resuscitate my brother. And as did the paramedics who transported him to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. Upon arriving at the hospital at approximately 1:14 p.m., a team of doctors, including emergency physicians and cardiologists, attempted to resuscitate him for a period of more than 1 hour, and they were unsuccessful.
Outside, the crowds grew larger, a spectacle worthy of the king of pop. But for fans, it was a chance to vent their grief.
I love him so much. And now he's gone. I can't believe that.
And this is something that is going to be life-changing, that people are going to remember forever. And it's the day the music died. This is definitely something that's going to hit our generation forever.
It was not just in Los Angeles. In New York, people crowded Times Square. And in Harlem, too, many were dancing, a spontaneous appreciation of a music legend. Back in California, the cameras missed not a moment. Even there, as Michael Jackson's body was taken from the hospital to the coroner's office, where a post-mortem will be done. Well, his fans prefer to remember the music, and his impact on popular culture over many years is undeniable. However, his pop career has many times been overshadowed by his eccentric behavior and serious allegations made against him. He was twice accused of child abuse. One case was settled out of court. The other one saw him acquitted of charges in a very high-profile trial. My colleague David Sillito now looks back at the life of Michael Jackson.
He'd begun performing when he was just 5 years old. The Jackson 5 came from the steel town of Gary, Indiana, and brought Berry Gordy's Motown 4 number ones with their first 4 singles.
He was so much like a son to me. it's just hard to realize that Michael Jackson is not here.
And then, unlike most child stars, he became an even bigger star as an adult. The LP Off the Wall was hugely successful. Thriller, the biggest selling album of all time. It was dance music with rock guitars, black music that white middle America was happy to listen to. This, though, was his peak creatively and commercially, and increasingly it was the man more than the music that interested people. Some of it may simply have been showmanship, such as his close attachment to a chimpanzee called Bubbles and rumours that he slept in a hyperbaric chamber. But his behaviour was often more worrying than just eccentric. The mother of his third child was kept secret. He'd been divorced twice, and his appearance suggested something deeper. His face changed shape and colour. Some of it he put down to a skin condition, and he admitted to 2 facial operations. Others suspect there were many more. Of course, throughout it, he continued to release records, but he'd passed his peak. His appearance was more than odd, and his friends questioned his eccentricities, but also felt he was misunderstood.
He was a genius, a musical genius. Knowing him personally, I discovered a humble, down-to-earth individual, generous and loving.
It was a world of celebrity friends, adoring fans, and endless legal battles. Among them, the long-running allegations of sexual abuse of Jordan Chandler and Gavin Arvizo. The first ended in an out-of-court settlement, the second, acquittal, but it left him exhausted, his finances in turmoil, his reputation tarnished. Some wondered if he would ever perform again, and then only months ago he announced he would return to the stage in London. He appeared fitter than he had done for years. The gigs sold out in hours. His fans had not deserted him. But behind the scandals, the lifestyle, the showmanship, an extraordinary career. The first black star of the MTV generation. $250 million albums, the most successful artist of the last 30 years.
Well, I just want to show you some of the tributes. This is an example of the kind of thing that people, fans, have been leaving here at Michael Jackson's house. You can see this one handmade, 4 photos of him from different parts of his 45-year career. That's the kind of feeling the fans are outpouring here in Los Angeles. There's still a post-mortem examination to be done. We're not sure if that will start straight away this morning here in the city, and we don't know how long it'll take either. There are many questions to be answered. Unofficially, authorities have said it was a cardiac arrest that he suffered, but what caused that cardiac arrest? It's known Michael Jackson was training and rehearsing for his comeback tour. Could that have put a strain on his 50-year-old heart? Also, he'd been taking medication, painkillers. Could that have had an effect as well? So there's questions still to be answered until we find out the official cause for why Michael Jackson died.
Okay, Rajesh, and just give us a sense of how the news is being treated by the media in America as well.
Well, this is the biggest story, as you can imagine. It happened Los Angeles time around lunchtime, so here on the West Coast they had a few hours to get used to it, but the East Coast, many people are waking up to this news, and all the networks are going very, very big. If you just spin around actually very quickly and take a look, here, just outside Michael Jackson's house, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 cameras. And that's just in this one location. They're all going live. This is very big news today, and it's set to continue to be very big news for the next few days at least.
Rajesh Mashandani in Los Angeles, thank you. Well, some of the biggest names in showbiz have already paid their tributes to Michael Jackson. Madonna said, "I can't stop crying over the sad news. The world has lost one of the greats, but his music will live on forever." Lisa Marie Presley, his ex-wife, said, "I'm so very sad and confused with every emotion possible. I'm heartbroken for his children, who I know were everything to him, and for his family. Steven Spielberg said, just as there will never be another Fred Astaire or Chuck Berry or Elvis Presley, there will never be anyone comparable to Michael Jackson. His talent, his wonderment and his mystery make him legend. And Sir Paul McCartney, I feel privileged to have hung out and worked with Michael. He was a massively talented boy man with a gentle soul. His music will be remembered forever. Well, we're joined now by the Radio 1 DJ Trevor Nelson, who's at BBC's Broadcasting House in central London. Afternoon to you. How will you best remember him?
Well, simply as a unique talent who crossed the sort of barrier that no black artist had ever crossed before. I mean, the first black artist to be played on MTV, a child star who actually became a superstar as an adult. That normally doesn't always happen. And somebody who I remember having a poster on my wall when I was about 7 years old and always wanting to be Michael Jackson, grow an afro like Michael Jackson, dance and sing like Michael Jackson. That's how I remember him always.
And what about his legacy in the music industry? What will that be?
Well, so many artists I've interviewed over the years I've always been surprised. Hip-hop, R&B singers always cite Michael Jackson as one of the reasons they make music. I think his legacy is firmly intact. He's broken every barrier he ever wanted to. He wanted to be the biggest star on the planet. He certainly is. And, you know, like so many before, he's taken way too young. Bob Marley, Marvin Gaye, Elvis Presley, he's up there now. And I think he's going to be huge now. I mean, in a sense that we think he's the biggest he's ever been. No, I don't think we've seen anything yet. I think images of his glove, his shoes, his socks, his hat, his outfits, his dance videos are going to be incredible forever.
He was dogged by controversy for different reasons. Does that tarnish his reputation, do you think?
Well, yes, certainly in the tabloid. I mean, the media frenzy in the last 10, 15 years has been incredible. So obviously, Michael Jackson's had to bear the brunt, and the court cases have drained him incredibly, drained his legacy as well. Although I have to say, if there's one artist whose catalogue can almost erase it, because the one thing we have to say, he was never found guilty of any of the charges, no matter what you feel about it. And I do believe mud does stick. I think in 20, 30 years' time, people won't be talking about the negative things about Michael Jackson. They'll be only talking about the music.
OK, and just quickly, he was planning a comeback. People will be very disappointed, won't they?
Oh, incredible. I mean, you know, the one thing, the tabloids in this country were really anti-Michael Jackson until he announced those dates at the O2. I mean, 1 million people wanted to see him. So the tabloids started becoming a little sympathetic, and we were all waiting to see if he could do it. I mean, sceptical I was, to be fair. I didn't think he could ever do more than about 10 dates. I never ever imagined how frail he'd been the last few years that he could pull it off. But if you've got a ticket in your hand right now, you're devastated, because there are so many young people under 21 who have never seen him perform, and it's something you want to do once in your lifetime. So yeah, there'll be a lot of crushed people.
Trevor Nelson, thank you for your time. And there will be a special programme looking back at Michael Jackson's life and music tonight at 7:30 on BBC One and the BBC News channel, presented by Jeremy Vine. Let's move to other